Voter ID laws are a joke. You know, any teenager will tell you how easy it is to get a fake ID. But there is one thing that's really hard to fake, and it's what we used to use for election security. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel.
As a 36-year retired letter carrier, union steward, and branch officer, I'll call your attention to U.S. Code, Title 18. Okay, 1701 says delay of addresses civilians. Whoever knowingly or willfully obstructs or retards the passage of mail. 1703, whoever being a Postal Service officer or employee detains, delays the mail. It is a violation of federal law, and the Postmaster General is not exempt. Okay?
Wow.
You cannot delay. You cannot delay first-class mail. Not the big man, not the supervisor, not the carrier. I represented several carriers.
Yeah, Gary, given that this is federal code, that means that the man who would have to enforce that law, who would have to hold the Postmaster General accountable, would be Bill Barr, the head of the Justice Department. Does it not?
U.S. states attorneys, Democratic States Attorneys Association can file suit against DeJoy personally, not just the post office.
Right, but they can't hold him. I mean, you know, you were citing criminal statute. You can't. I don't believe. Maybe I'm wrong. You can't enforce a criminal law without the Department of Justice, a federal criminal law.
You go to federal court and let Barr sit there and say, "Oh, we're not going to enforce it." Yeah, right.
So you're going to use the courts to try to force him to do it, and he's going to successfully put that off until January.
No, in the meantime,
I mean, this is what Trump is doing with his taxes right now.
You can't stop it from going into courts, and they've been embarrassed before going to the courts.
Yeah. No, Gary, thank you for the information. That's a useful next step. But I just I'm thank you. I'm just very concerned that any attempt to use the courts at this point in time is going to be it's too little, too late. Rosemary in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hey, Rosemary, what's up?
Hi, I just wanted to say that we have our local elections coming up on the 18th of August, and I was just a little concerned because the mail-in ballot, you have to sign the outside with, dated and sign it. Should I be concerned about that? And also, there's an option for your phone number and your email address. And I just didn't know if that's something that I should be concerned about. Why is that not inside the envelope? Why is it on the outside?
It's on the outside. So the envelope, these are anti-fraud measures, Rosemary. Regardless of what Trump says, it's damn near impossible to fake a mail-in ballot. And it's for the reason that you just described. We have the same. Louise and I just a week ago or 2 weeks ago voted in our local Multnomah County election, and same deal. On the outside of the envelope, it's got a barcode or it's got a return address printed on it that identifies you, so that when your ballot is received at the Secretary of State's office, they will do what they would do if you were to walk up in a polling station, which is they look up your name and address, they make sure that you're a registered voter, a legally registered voter, and then they look in their records at the signature that you signed when you registered to vote. And if that signature matches the signature on the outside of the envelope, then and only then they open the envelope, pull out the ballot, and put it in the box for processing. So that's the anti-fraud measure that you're describing. If I wouldn't put my email address or my telephone number on the outside of an envelope. If you said it's an optional thing, then
it's optional. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But thank you so much for clearing that up.
Yeah, it's entirely up to you. But yeah, this is biometrics. You're welcome, Rosemary. Thank you. I mean, this is the thing. This is what has bothered me about the whole Republican voter ID thing from the beginning, and it just really troubles me that there hasn't been more pushback about this in the media. The simple reality, the Republicans say, people who aren't qualified to vote, legally. They're illegal immigrants, the Republican phrase, undocumented people in this country, or they're ex-felons, but they're not. They can't legally vote. They are showing up at polling places and trying to vote anyway. And so we've got to require ID. We've got to require photo ID issued by a government agency so that we know that those people actually, discourage people who can't legally vote from voting. Well, first of all, people who can't legally vote don't generally want to vote, particularly given that in most states it can land you in jail for up to 15 years. Typically, it's 2 to 5 years. But, in one case, one state, it's 15 years. So people don't want to do this, commit this kind of crime in the first place. But the second thing is that we have had forever, at least throughout my whole entire lifetime, a biometric system for determining whether somebody is who they say they are. And it's more effective than ID. Anybody who is 17 years old or 16 years old can tell you how easy it is to get a fake ID so you can get into a bar or buy booze. Anybody can tell you that. And all of us who are older than 17 or 18 remember how easy it was. But what's not easy? What's not easy is faking somebody's autograph. That's actually really difficult. It's a lot harder than getting a phony ID. And so I remember when I was 7 years old and my mom was the voting person, the poll worker in Lansing, Michigan, at our local elementary school. And I sat there and watched her do this for hours. People would come up and they would say, "Hi, I'm Joe." And whether she knew them or not, she'd say, "Hi, Joe, please sign the book." And they would sign the book. And then she would pull out the card that they had signed when they registered. She'd hold it next to their signature on the book. And she would say, "Yep, it matches." And if it didn't match, she would send them to somebody else and say, "You need to go over there. They're going to talk to you about your voter registration. Apparently your autograph has changed," which does happen over time. Our autographs change. But it's biometrics. It's impossible to fake. We had a foolproof, fraud-proof system. And then the Republicans said, "Oh, no, we can't have that. We've got to have photo ID." Photo ID is not as reliable as a signature. So with mail-in balloting, and now you've got at least one state saying, "We want you to send us a copy, a Xerox of your ID." Really? The autograph on the outside of the envelope is all it takes. And that's your way of saying, "I am me." And here's the proof. It's harder to fake an autograph, a signature. It's harder to fake a signature than it is to fake an ID. So, that's the deal. I'm sorry to go off on a rant here when I've got, an entire board full of calls waiting, but this is a point that needs to be made over and over and over again. This whole ID thing never should have been allowed to get as far as it's gotten. The Republicans have been working on this for 20 years, and finally it's being taken seriously.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It was always a lie. A, there was no voter fraud. B, ID is not the most effective way to do it. Biometrics is, with signatures, which we've been doing forever.